So today's hot topic is alt-alc, or alternative to alcohol. And, the movement is just growing in popularity. I mean, so many young people drinking considerably less than when we did when we were growing up.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, we'll get into the statistics. They're actually like mind-boggling.
Ridiculous.
How many
actually.
fewer young people are consuming
Specifically
alcohol.
the Gen Zers, for sure.
It's unbelievable. There's
100%.
so many alternatives to alcohol and spirits we can dive into. So, why is this, right? Let's take a dive in. Is it just a trend? Is it here to stay? So, And what are they doing instead?
Well, so what's really interesting is that there's some crazy statistics about how much less alcohol people are drinking. In fact, what they're trading it for. I mean, some of the generations today are not even drinking any alcohol. I mean, or I should say the Gen Zers are drinking 85% less alcohol than the previous generation. Over the past 3 years, they've seen the most significant drop in alcohol consumption they've ever seen in history.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, over the last 3 years, they saw an $830 billion decrease in alcohol consumption, in sales. That's pretty significant to the alcohol industry for sure. And so, trust me, they're trying to figure that out as well. And it's why you're seeing a lot of these things like non-alcoholic beers popping up everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally every company has a non-alcoholic beer. So there's definitely a trend going, and we're going to dive into that today for sure.
I mean, how cool is that? Like kids coming up, they're hitting the age of 21, 22, and they're just not participating at all, going to the bars or right, consuming the alcohol. Like that's very foreign to me from when I was growing up.
Well, so, I mean, I go back to high school where I started drinking the very first time was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
There are kids that aren't drinking at all, and they're in college, they're in their professional life, and they haven't had any alcohol. They don't even really want it. They have no desire.
How amazing is that?
Well, it's amazing, and I love that. But back then, if you didn't drink, you were kind of a prude or a nerd or a dork or whatever. I don't even know what the word.
So where's it stemming from, do you think?
Well, so what's interesting about this is there's this movement that has been called Sober Curious. Mm-hmm. It's been more updated to call it alt-alc by the alcohol industry because if you go to Total Wine and Spirit, there's aisles now, not just a section, aisles of non-alcoholic spirits, beers, all kinds of THC-infused beverages, all kinds of alternatives to alcohol that are all the rage now. Now, I think it's primarily based on the fact that this younger generation is more informed than we were ever informed.
Sure.
I mean, you've got basically piles of information at your fingertips that we didn't have when we were younger. So they're trying to live a healthier lifestyle. They're trying to live longer and healthier. They're trying to biohack the body to figure out how they can be stronger, faster, harder, just like we were talking about on the peptide episode.
Sure.
So they're exchanging intoxicating social settings like happy hour for things like cooking classes, yoga. They're expanding their education, their crafting and hobbies, and sinking into social media. Now, I don't know if that's exactly the best alternative, but the reality is it's true. And they're potentially trading one addiction for another. So in some cases, these exchanges may not be the best, but certainly healthier for the body.
I mean, good for them, right? The fact that they're perhaps not, maybe we'll touch on it later, not peer pressured, right? And they just have firm positions on it and just can do their own thing.
Yeah.
Like how refreshing.
No, it's actually pretty cool. And I will tell you that it's timely. Because recently, in 2018, it was published in the Lancet, which is a published journal for research and so forth. It was called the Global Burden of Disease Study. And what they did is they analyzed data from 195 countries from 1990 to 2016. There were 694 data resources, 592 studies. And what they found is that alcohol was responsible for well over 3 million deaths a year. Now, due primarily to risks associated with things like cancer. Now, these 3 million deaths were not related to drunk driving. This was disease state or condition deaths. So over 3 million deaths per year were associated to the consumption of alcohol. So certain digestive cancers like pancreatic, gallbladder, bile duct, esophageal cancers are in some cases almost directly linked to the consumption or overconsumption of alcohol for sure.
Yeah.
Things like liver and breast cancer are on the rise for people that consume a lot of alcohol. Now, this new research completely contradicted some of the older studies because some of those older studies suggested that perhaps drinking a little bit of alcohol was actually good for you. And I remember the days when they would tell you that, especially, have a glass of wine with dinner and things of that nature. Well, based on this study,
The French paradox.
yeah, the French paradox, exactly. Although I think that's a bit more complex because that takes into aspects of their diet and so on. But great point, though. So the World Health Organization has determined what the actual safe level of consumption of alcohol is. What do you think they came to the conclusion of, Brian?
I mean, I'd assume none.
Yeah, exactly. It's zero. So they're saying the only safe consumption level of alcohol is zero. Now, by the way,
I'm not in that camp, by the way.
no. Well, actually, about 2 years ago, I stopped drinking.
Okay.
A little bit over 2 years ago. It's about 2.5 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. Once every 4, 5, 6 months, I'll have one drink with my wife.
Okay.
But I literally stopped drinking 2 years ago. I got to be honest, I've never felt better. I don't have those hard mornings to wake up, from being out having a few cocktails or whatever. I feel good every morning. So I got to be honest, there's got to be some truth to this because alcohol does not work well in my body anymore.
Well, of course. I mean, I'm an everything in moderation person.
Sure.
I went 18 months without drinking a couple years ago. And then it went back for no reason. I think I actually caught COVID for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like bedridden for weeks and I just never drank after that. So it was great, but I went back. I mean, very recreationally. I'm not a big drinker. If I had more than 2 drinks when I'm going out, it's a lot because I feel it the next day. But I mean, I'm on the fence where I don't think one drink is good for you. I just think to an excessive amount is what's dangerous in my view.
And I totally get it. Honestly, when I read the research and we get down to why, it makes total sense why the consumption level is zero. But now keep in mind, all these health concerns with the body, that doesn't even take into consideration the addictive principles behind alcohol and the damage that causes.
Yeah.
So those 3 million deaths a year are totally and completely related to the consumption of alcohol, not even considering the addictive side of things. Let's pressure test this and analyze how the body reacts when you consume alcohol. Now, I got to warn you, I'm a little bit of a buzzkill at the barbecue here, right? I'm not the fun guy to have at happy hour, and I'll probably take a bit of criticism on this because I know that people like to have a cocktail here and there. And by no means is this episode designed to criticize that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just simply telling a truth that needs to be heard because the one thing is if you do decide to stop drinking, you don't have to give up the fun. That's the cool part about this episode. In order to break this down, it's probably helpful or maybe a little scary and probably something people don't want to hear. Let's talk about what happens when you consume alcohol. Like, what does your body do? Okay. So alcohol absorption happens in the stomach and in the intestines. About 20% of the alcohol you consume is absorbed in the stomach and 80% in the intestines. 95% of the alcohol you consume is metabolized in the liver. Okay. Now, what happens is the liver uses an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase. Now, I know I'm going to say a bunch of words. It's going to sound super technical. I apologize ahead of time. But when I lay this out and you're paying attention, you're going to understand why I'm telling you this. So alcohol dehydrogenase converts the alcohol you consume into acetaldehyde.
Okay.
Now, that may sound familiar to something else you've heard of. Formaldehyde. What do we use formaldehyde for?
For embalming.
Exactly. And it's literally one carbon difference. It's one molecule different from formaldehyde as acetaldehyde. Our body converts it into an extremely toxic substance that is kin to something like formaldehyde. So understand, your body is literally being poisoned. That's the crazy thing. And that's where all this research is stemming off of, is that when you consume alcohol, it literally converts alcohol into one of the most poisonous substances. Now, don't get me wrong, the body has an amazing capability of taking this acetaldehyde and rapidly converting it into a non-toxic substance that gets eliminated by urine or water or fluid out of the body or by carbon dioxide and out of our breath. But for a period of time while it is in the body, it is in quite possibly one of the most toxic substances your body could ever deal with.
Okay.
And it's for that reason that alcohol is such a big contributor to things like cancer. And so all these different forms of cancer has all to do with this toxic byproduct that your body converts alcohol into.
Okay, so all of those studies, right, that you just quoted, is that based on, 1 or 2 drinks or excessive drinking for a period of years?
So in truth, the results of the study was saying that because of what alcohol is converted into in your body, literally the first drink that you have, your liver will then convert it into acetaldehyde, that extremely toxic substance. That is the basis of the study. That's why they're saying the only safe level is 0. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're all of a sudden going to have cancer because you have an occasional drink. I'm not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form. But the reality is, 1 drink a day, 2 drinks a day, a few drinks a week, those are all contributing factors to overall health concern.
Right.
Because it's not like that's the only thing you might be doing wrong in your diet. But when you add this to all the other things that we're doing, it's literally not a great contributor. So when you consider how the body metabolizes alcohol and what toxic substance it creates, it can cause liver disease, such as fatty liver, cirrhosis, cancer. Acetaldehyde also damages your DNA. And that's the primary reason when that toxin is in the body, it damages the very DNA, is why increased cancer risks exist. So when you consider even a small amount of this compound can be damaging to the body. Now, it damages brain function too. I mean, when you consume alcohol, it makes it more difficult for your brain to process. It also makes you more vulnerable to things like dementia and other challenges because it causes literal brain damage because your body doesn't know how to respond to those toxins.
But can 1 drink, 1 beer, 1 glass of wine help someone to relax at the end of the day? I know this is not a pros and cons discussion because there are no pros.
No, it's fair.
Right? But in moderation, like, is there a way to, I don't know, palatably, tolerably enjoy alcohol within reason?
So I totally get how the whole nightcap mentality to help wind down and de-stress the body and so forth. Totally agree why that, because when you drink alcohol, you do get uninhibited. What I would like to challenge us with is look at what other alternatives we might have. Because the metabolic disruption, the cause of inflammation, the toxicity of alcohol, maybe it's not the best choice to wind down with, is all I'm saying. There could be amazing alternatives that might even be as good. So hang tight, I promise. There's some cool things that we can talk about here that I think will be pretty fun.
I mean, to your point, Jason, like, it's why women who are pregnant do not go near alcohol. They're not supposed to consume an ounce of it, right?
None.
Right? When there's a fetus in them, a growing baby.
Fetal alcohol syndrome, yeah.
I mean, that's a real thing.
Well,
yet the father will be there slugging a couple of beers.
100%. When you look at other restrictions we have on alcohol, especially like teenagers, there's an age limit. I don't think it's just that because we're waiting for a certain age limit. During certain development stages in a child's life, brain development and so forth, alcohol can retard that or even cause damage to it. So I would argue that increasing the age for alcohol consumption could make sense to allow full development to occur before we introduce these toxins. But the reality is, I don't believe there's a good argument for alcohol. I just know that people are going to drink no matter what I say. But I will tell you this, that there are alternatives that are pretty cool.
Okay, so for those that still want to go out, let loose, have a good time, what other options are there if not alcohol? From a consumption perspective.
Okay, so if it's just the social setting that you want to be in, what's really cool right now is a lot of bars are introducing mocktails. Now, those aren't super sexy. They don't really do anything. You don't feel anything. They taste good. They might taste like a Moscow Mule. They might taste like I don't know, like a margarita or something like that, but they have no alcohol. There is 0 octane, if you will. There's even non-alcoholic beers. One of my favorites is Corona. Athletic Brewing, by the way, they have a really good IPA. So if you like a real good hoppy beer, they have a non-alcoholic. Athletic Brewing does nothing but non-alcoholic, and they've got an amazing IPA. Guinness, for those people that like stouts, Guinness has done a really good job.
Really?
So I think there are some alternatives to being in that social setting and still not consuming alcohol.
So I imagine all of those things you just described probably actually do taste very good.
Yeah.
But what if they want to feel the sensation of a buzz?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. You know, and I think it's worthy also to say that at some point in the future, we're going to have a show dedicated to cannabis. Because I think it's a worthwhile argument to introduce that idea, because there's some real big pros, but there's some real serious cons based on where cannabis is going. But there are some really amazing options out there right now to where you can get that uninhibited, euphoric feeling. Now, albeit nowhere near as strong as, let's say, alcohol, but you can still get uninhibited. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I was in a board meeting about 3 years ago, and we were sitting there talking, and there was this person. She was always that person that we didn't like her. She was always negative. She was always just not very positive at all. And I brought some gummies that were made with this ingredient that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And I gave her some of those gummies, and we were talking to everybody at the board meeting, and everybody came up to me after going, "What did you do to her?" I mean, she completely became a different person. So we're going to talk about this. And
Okay.
I'm really, listen, if nothing else, it's an option that people can explore that not only is safe, but doesn't cause that toxic side effect in the body, actually has that uninhibited euphoric feeling, but is completely safe and will cause a reduction in stress, not an increase in stress to the body.
Very cool. Okay, so now you've piqued my curiosity, and I think I know what the ingredient is, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Well,
guess.
we've talked about it, you and I.
What is it?
It's kava kava.
Kava.
So kava is found in Polynesian culture, right? And Vanuatu, Fiji.
Fiji. Yeah.
I know it's in different Polynesian culture, and it was used ceremonial in different ways. In fact, throughout the United States today, you can go to a kava bar. Now, I can't say that most of the kava bars are traditional kava bars. Typically, when you go to a kava bar now, you're going to get like a ready-made drink or some sort of a
You
shot.
can still get a traditional bowl.
Not in all kava bars. I was in a kava bar the other day that did not serve traditional kava.
Oh, wow.
And I was like shocked because I wanted to order a shell of kava.
People are adding flavors to it,
Oh.
sweeteners.
Well,
yeah.
they're trying to make something that is traditional taste better.
Ceremonial.
Because don't get me wrong, kava's got some rough spots in its taste, but man, when you look at how people are formulating it today, they've made it a lot better. So what's really cool about kava is it has a mildly intoxicating effect. It can actually make you slightly euphoric. It has this relaxing, calming aspect to it. But the best thing is you can go out and have 2-3 shells of kava or 2-3 servings of kava in a kava bar, wake up the next day, feel fine.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, you might even sleep better and feel better, whereas the exact opposite is true if you have too many drinks. You'll be hungover, dehydrated, and in pain, right? Because your body's trying to off-gas all of that toxic chemical. So I really think kava is an excellent opportunity. And for those of you who haven't tried it, definitely try it. It's a really good option.
There's probably north of 500 kava bars now in the U.S.
Easily,
it's growing.
yeah, without a doubt.
I actually don't mind it. I've actually had shell or a bowl of the traditional noble kava. I imagine you'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah.
Unflavored. I didn't mind it at all. Tasted like kind of muddy water, but it didn't have a bad taste. It didn't have a bad aftertaste, and I definitely felt it. And it relaxes you. Like it makes from the introverted to the extrovert. It kind of gets your guard down. It's
Listen,
cool.
For people that have social anxiety, I highly recommend it. It's phenomenal. You know, in my opinion, kava as a standalone. Now, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much right now, but I've been personally working on a formulation that is combining kava with one other key ingredient.
Okay.
I'm not going to let that out of the bag now. To give people as close of an alternative to alcohol while still being good for you and healthy for you.
Is this the gummy you were talking about or no?
No. This is in a liquid form, and it'll be in a ready to drink, and ittle be more of like a seltzer.
Oh, wow.
And because I really truly believe in this sober curious movement. Put aside the addictive part and how much damage the addiction to alcohol has done in our society and in this world. Just the health concerns that alcohol presents. For me, if I can provide an option for people to be healthier and safer and still have a good time, you simply can't lose.
I'm excited to hear more about that. Okay, so kava. I've never had more than 2 bowls, but if you drink an excessive amount, can it get you very buzzed? Like how much is too much? Like what do you know?
Okay, so it's never going to get you as buzzed as alcohol.
Okay.
And that's directly correlated by the fact that the reason why you get buzzed is because of the toxicity of the chemical acetaldehyde that you're putting in your body. Truly, that is why you're getting buzzed. It's robbing your body of oxygen. So it's never going to get you that type of buzzed, but it can give you a little bit of a buzz. It can get you a little bit euphoric. And like I said, from a social anxiety standpoint, totally uninhibited. You can literally have fun on it, but mentally you're sharp, you're in control. you're not going to be doing any crazy drunk dialing. You know what I
Right,
mean? You're not going to
right.
make any mistakes or say the wrong thing. You're going to be cognitively aware, right? Like you're not going to do the stupid things that alcohol all too often get us down the road of. So,
Right. So 3 questions, Jason.
yeah.
What should someone be looking for when they're going to purchase or consume kava?
Okay.
I mean, I have my experience, but how would you express what it tastes like?
Yeah.
And if you were to have a few kavas, a bowl, a shell, and you got pulled over, would you be intoxicated?
Okay. So the first question is what you should be looking for is what is called kava lactones. Those are the actives in kava.
Right.
And traditionally speaking, if you were to go back to like that Polynesian cultural experience, in one shell of kava, you're going to get about 250 to 300 milligrams of kava lactones.
Okay.
That's typically. So you're going to want to look for something that gives you about that same if you want to have the same experience. Now, what does it taste like? It tastes a little earthy,
Yeah.
tastes a little bitter and a little weird, but it is an acquired taste for sure. It has a unique experience. I almost don't want to tell anybody. I want them to experience it the first time, but I'll tell you anyway. Your mouth and your throat will go temporarily numb.
Yes. Yep.
So what's cool about that is that covers up some of the bitter notes of the taste too. So your mouth will almost immediately go numb.
Yes, that's
kind of
true.
crazy. If you don't expect it, it's definitely something that will happen. Now, the most important question you asked is if you have 1, 2, 3 shells of kava, or you're coming home from a kava bar, you're not consuming alcohol, could you be pulled over and could you get in trouble with the police? So there's 2 laws when it comes to being pulled over. There's driving while intoxicated. That's a DWI. DWI is very strictly mandated to how much alcohol or a particular drug or some sort of a compound that has already been identified and put on a list and saying if you're above a certain limit that you are considered intoxicated. There's also another stipulation called driving under the influence.
Right.
Now, under the influence is a little bit more loose in its definition, and that is if your driving becomes erratic, you're not reacting well, you're stopping weird, you can get in trouble with the police. So the bottom line is kava, if you're drinking enough kava, you definitely can become super relaxed, super chill, and in all honesty, your reaction times might not be as strong. So as a result, I would say,
wow,
if you're going to be going to a kava bar and you're going to have a few shells of kava, enjoy yourself, take an Uber. That way everybody's safe. But truthfully, you're not damaging your body. It's really kind of cool.
So what are the different types of kava? Are there many?
Yes. Okay, so there are 2 primary types of kava, and only one of which would I ever recommend someone take. And there's a reason, and I'll explain. So the 2 types of kava are called Two-Day and Noble Kava. Now, the Two-Day is Tudei, but it is pronounced like 2 days, all right? 2-Day. So Two-Day Kava is definitely more intoxicating. So if someone were to go after kava and they wanted to really go after it, they could certainly get a more intoxicating effect. However, when you drink or consume 2-Day kava, it has potentially hepato or liver toxicity concerns, meaning your liver has a hard time processing it.
I remember this years ago.
Oh, 100%. So it's for that reason that the type of kava that has become increasingly popular, because it doesn't have anywhere near the same risks of liver hepatotoxicity at all, is called Noble Kava.
Noble, right.
Noble Kava. Noble Kava is the gold standard for safe, regular use of kava. In fact, there are 3 different strains or regions that you can get it from. It's Tongan, Fijian, and Vanuatu. It's where they grow a lot of the Noble Kava. And I honestly believe that it's the easiest herb, root, or substance that you can use to replace alcohol. But the cool thing is that you become healthier because you're reducing stress, you'll sleep better, and you don't have hangovers. It's actually really cool and still get uninhibited.
So how does kava specifically work in the body, like once ingested?
Okay, so you've heard of the actives in kava lactones. We just talked about that a second ago, right? So you've also heard of the amino acid GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. Okay, so it works by GABA enhancement. It increases the efficiency of GABA receptors in the brain. See, GABA is that one amino acid that I tell people that when you have a lot of noise in the mind and you want to shut that noise down so that you can relax and go to sleep or focus, it's an excellent thing to take. And so kava helps by enhancing that process in the body so that you can turn down that mental noise, that conflict that you have in your mind just to relax. Now, it also inhibits neural firing. Now, that means it reduces the conduction of nerve impulses in the brain and helps with muscle relaxation and social anxiety. And it also supports neurotransmitter regulation, now leading to a better mood. So it literally, if you can imagine an environment when you start to feel the effects of kava, you're going to get relaxed. You're also going to notice you're going to get super focused into your conversations.
Yeah.
Your social anxiety is gone.
Out the window.
You're uninhibited. You're not afraid about talking about your deepest, darkest secrets. You're just going to be chilling and having a great time. And that's what's special about kava. I mean, it literally flips a stressful day on its head. And it's fun, but you don't have a hangover either.
That's so cool. So clearly you're a fan of kava.
I am, yeah.
Is there a particular product, a particular brand that you would endorse right now? Okay,
so here's the one thing that I will tell everybody. There's a lot of brands being marketed on places like TikTok and Instagram. Be careful.
Yeah.
They give you this, they insinuate that they do this, they take a shot and 30 minutes later after taking 4 shots, they come on and they're totally intoxicated and whatever. Please don't believe that. That's not how kava works. Kava is experiential. You will feel it, but not like they're projecting. So be careful with a lot of the people that are trying to promote those products. One I like in particular is a company called Lelo. They have a ready to drink that's really cool.
I know
it's
those
something
guys.
that you can take to the beach, out on the boat, and just have a great time. And it's something that you can drink all day. They're super cool and they're fun.
Leilo, Lelo.
Yeah, in other words, lay low.
Yeah.
In other words, chill out and have a good time. Great summer beverage, especially when you're out in the sun.
Now, those are good young guys behind that brand. Okay, so what's your final word on kava, if you could button it up for us?
So the bottom line is this. I know that people are going to drink alcohol, even though I'm telling them that it's one of the most toxic substances you could ever put in your body. It is truly. Besides refined sugar, I would tell you alcohol is probably number 2. The reality is that people are still going to drink, but I would hope and encourage that people look for alternatives. Because if you can go to that zero alcohol consumption in your diet and find these alternatives that you're happy about and that give you all that release, I can't encourage you enough. Look for that option, because not only will you be doing your body good, because you're going to be reducing stress, helping your sleep, but you're also going to have a little bit of fun too.
This is what I reach for on the way to the gym, Aonic Build. It's a 3-in-1 muscle support supplement that makes staying consistent way easier. You get creatine for lean muscle support, HMB to help with muscle retention, and beetroot extract to support strength and power, all in one stick. I love that it has 0 added sugar, no artificial colors, and actually tastes refreshing. It just fits into my routine without overthinking it. No mixing multiple supplements, no extra steps. If you're training and want something simple that supports your goals, this is an easy add to your routine. Easy to throw in my bag, easy to stay consistent with.